Hi, I'm Tara Antler. I'm a transformational leader, a flourishing life coach, and an intuitive. I help people of all ages get connected to the highest version of themselves so that they can live the most radiant, joyful, abundant, and fulfilled life possible. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the shadow side because I know it's not always high fives and chocolate cake and roses. There have been many times in my own life where I haven't felt so certain, where I've gone through ups and downs and highs and lows, and many, many times of feeling completely lost and confused and depressed, anxiety, no clarity whatsoever. And I'm not sure if you can relate to that, but if you have, I want to let you know that you're not alone. I'd have to say the worst time that I had, where I had all of that going on and then some, was when I was around 27. I ended up working at a spa, and it was about 2.5 hours north of Toronto. And at first it was really great, but then all of a sudden I started to feel completely disconnected. I hadn't spoken to any of my friends. I barely saw my partner at the time, and I was living in the middle of nowhere, basically. And I was working a lot. I was seeing about 8 clients a day, which if any of you are in the health and wellness industry, you would know that that is a lot to see in a day. Every day I could feel my health kind of going down, taking this downward spiral. And when I hit the bottom, I realized that I didn't even know what was going on. I felt as though everything I knew had completely fallen away. Everything that I knew about myself, everything of who I knew I was completely gone. Anything that I believed just seemed like a distant memory. And I didn't know how to get out. I felt depressed. I was crying all the time. And then to top it all off, my boyfriend and I broke up at the time. It was at that point that I went back to some of my old teachings, some of my old practices that I knew worked time and time again years prior, that I'd kind of stepped away from. When we have those practices that we're religious about every single day, and then all of a sudden we're like, okay, I'm good, so I'm not going to do them anymore. And I kind of stepped off that spiritual bandwagon for a little while and just was living life. And I went back to some of those old practices, and I found some old mantras and affirmations that I used to use and some old prayers that I used to use. And I started to repeat them every single day, sometimes 10 times a day, repeating them over and over and over again. I started meditating again. I made that a regular part of my practice, regardless of how busy I was, regardless of the changes or the transformation that was happening. I started to get reconnected to me, to my heart space, to my breath, to my body. And that's when the magic and the miracle happened. When I put some of those things back into place again and put them back into my life as a priority, and actually putting me as a priority in my life, everything started to lift up. I started to have more vitality. I was sleeping better at night. My mood started to lift up. I made more time for myself. I put me as a priority, and I began to nurture myself. I went for more walks. I started engaging in my yoga practice again, and I really just started to pay attention to what my needs were and putting me as the most important person in my universe at that time. And everything really did start to lift up. I felt so happy, and I felt so joyful, and I felt like I could see the light at the end of the tunnel again. And I started to get new clarity. And when I stepped into this new place within inside of myself and reconnected, really, that's when the new opportunity opened up in such a huge way. And I really stepped into a greater place within myself. This new job allowed me to make way more money than what I was making before. I felt happier. I was able to work with all these beautiful people, yoga instructors and healers and meditation facilitators that I actually brought to this new place where I was working, and we all worked together as a family and as a team. I was training people. I wasn't just doing the hands-on healing, which I love, but I needed a little bit of a transitional break from it. I was leading, I was facilitating, I was teaching, and I was having so much fun. I was living in nature in a beautiful community where I felt so supported. And I know that other people in my life, my clients, other friends who put these same principles into their life and into practice have also seen amazing results. I have so many clients that have worked with me over the years, whether it's been once in a while, whether it's been in a program, whether it's been in a teaching or a class or a workshop, and across the board, they've all had amazing things happen. getting the relationship or the love of their life that they've always wanted, which is like such a blessing, receiving the job or the career that they've wanted. I even had one client, she was an aspiring actress, and she came in when she first saw me. She was not really fully believing in herself and really doubting her skills and her gift. And through working together, we were able to get her to a place where she felt so confident and so clear in who she was that she's booking gig after gig after gig in terms of acting, and she's living the life that she really, really wanted, and she feels happy and she feels like she's really living it. And she wakes up every day, and every now and then I get these messages from her saying, "Thank you so much, you've changed my life." And so I know these principles work. Everything that we're going to be covering in this program, Living Your Higher Self, is designed to bring you into the highest expression of who you are and to really live it so that you can have everything you've ever wanted. That's what we came here for. Now, the old world would tell you something very different. The old world would tell you that you need to function more from here. You need to think logically. You need to know where you're going. You need to set your course. You need to have a plan of action. And life is going to follow a certain set of things. It's going to go like this, and then like this, and then like this, and then you're going to see you're going to get here. And at the end, you're going to have this really wonderful pension, or you're going to have this really wonderful thing at the end of your life that you're just going to be able to enjoy. That's the old world thinking. It's very much of the analytical, very much of the head, very much of the rationalization and figuring it out. And we all know that that only takes us so far. I know that for myself. My analytical brain could only get me so far. It could only figure me out of certain situations and places for so long or to a certain extent. It was only when I surrendered into my higher self, surrendered into that knowing, that all of a sudden these incredible solutions started to frame themselves and started to pop up in my life that I hadn't even thought about yet. And that's more where we're going. The new world and the new energy that we're moving into, this new age that we're moving into and that we're in now, is all about living from the heart. It's all about living from a higher consciousness state. And if you look at the world now, you see it everywhere. How many of you are familiar with yoga and meditation? Whereas I remember 10, 15 years ago, it was hardly known about. It was just starting to come out into the public knowledge. Now, almost everybody goes to a yoga class. Almost everybody has a specific meditative structure that they're trying to put in place into their life. So where we're going is more of a higher consciousness. We're moving into heart-based business building, heart-based relationships, conscious communication, conscious relationships. You hear about it all the time. We're moving from the me to the we. So we're beginning to work together. We're beginning to co-create and collaborate. And in this new world, it has everything to do with living your higher self, living your expanded state, living the most highest expression of who you are and not settling for anything less. So how do you begin to live in this new world where everything is possible and you begin to live the most amazing life you could have possibly imagined for yourself? You begin by tuning into your higher self. And how do you do that? I fully invite you to join me on this beautiful journey, 6 weeks to creating the most important relationship of your life. This program is called Living Your Higher Self, and it's been intuitively created and soulfully guided to walk you through that journey, to walk you through the process of really accessing your higher self. And each week we're going to cover a new topic. We're going to cover a new aspect of the higher self so that you can really begin to feel it, live it, and expand it out into your life so that you can fully live the life you've always wanted for yourself. So week 1, we're going to look at the unlimited access to your higher self and really delve into what it is. Second week, we're going to look at the higher self as an everyday experience. So once you understand the higher self, once you've practiced breathing into your higher self and being it, what does that look like in your everyday life? The third week, we're going to look at the higher self and how to raise your vibration so that you can constantly access it, so that it's not just one of these things like this, it's not just a temporary moment and then you fall off the spiritual wagon, but how do you constantly access your higher self? How do you raise your vibration and still your emotions and cool and calm the thoughts so that you can stay in that beautifully centered place? And then week 4, we're going to be looking at the different cycles of change. So how do you move through change and chaos and transition, because we all know that this life, we are going to have different changes, different things that we bump up against, things that happen in our life. So how do we best deal with those? How do we move through the change with ease and grace so that we come out without any bumps or bruises, right? And then the next week, we're going to be looking at soul seeing. So once we have an understanding of how to function in the world, we're going to be looking at how do we extend that even higher? How do we see the world through new eyes? Instead of just the physical eyes that we see right here, how do we expand it? How do we change our perception? How do we open up our view to see the world and ourselves and our life in a new way? Once we do that, we begin to have a new vision for our life. We begin to see the world with our higher self eyes. So that one's one of my favorites. It's really exciting. And the last one is the higher self, your higher self as an extension of you. So once you're grounding it, once you're embodying it, where do you go from there? How do you extend it out into the world around you? How does that living your higher self, that relationship, how does it affect your other relationships in your life? And each week we're going to be doing meditation. We're going to be doing spiritual insights and different talks about these different topics. And there's going to be most likely channeled material, even though I know the structure of the program. A lot of times what happens is this channel opens up and stuff comes through. So I'm always excited about that because I get to learn something new. And I always open it up to you guys. I love to hear from you in terms of how you're feeling, how you're doing, and how this process is for you. So I always welcome feedback. I welcome emails and phone calls. I'm here to support you throughout this entire journey. I want to share with you two more things before I go. One are the common setbacks that people experience when it comes to living this new way or stepping into this new world. And the most common is people don't do anything at all. They continue to just live their life like this without taking any step forward, without change, without stepping into that great unknown, without, taking a leap of faith. That is the number one thing that keeps us stuck, that keeps us exactly where we are, and our life looking exactly the way it is now. And from my heart, sincerely, deeply to yours, I want to see you thrive. I want to see you flourish. I want to see you live the most amazing life possible. I know what it's like to live on both sides of that, and I can tell you, living in a way where life is working with you and for you is so much easier. And so I highly, highly, highly encourage you to take that step forward, to take a leap of faith, to do something today, tomorrow, within this next week for sure, that steps you outside of your comfort zone, that moves you into a new possibility, that accesses a new realm of possibility or insight or awareness for yourself, and just see what happens. Just be open. Be open to the possibility of something new occurring for your life. Something that you can do today, right now, go outside, get out into nature, even if it's cold, even if the weather's not preferable to you. Just step outside, get connected to nature. Nature is so beautiful. It knows its source. It knows where it comes from. It doesn't go through the disconnect like we do because of these human minds and the ego mind and the lower self. It doesn't have all that stuff that we have to go through. It doesn't have the emotional flare-ups that we go through, or the uncertainty, or the mental confusion, or all of that stuff that goes on. We have so many different things going on in this world that we live in. So I say, step outside your world. Step outside into the greater world and just connect to nature, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes. By being in nature, it will help you remember who you are. Just by grounding, being near the trees, being near the water, looking up at the blue sky or the sun, it helps you remember who you are. It's one easy, simple thing that you can do to get connected right away to your higher self. And if you're looking for something a little bit more, if you want to take that next step, or you want to go a little further, or you want to just jump all in, I invite you to take this journey with me of living your higher self. I promise you that these next 6 weeks are going to be the most important 6 weeks of your life. They are going to completely transform the relationship that you have to yourself, to your higher self, and with everyone else in your world. I love you, and until next time, have the most brilliant, beautifully blessed day. Live vibrantly.